everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rhiannon and today I'm going to be telling you guys about 20 books that are coming out by the end of this year that I am extremely excited about. I am definitely a person that likes to pre-order a lot of books, but the bad thing is that I don't actually keep track of the books that I've pre-ordered, which, as you've seen if you've watched a few of my book hauls, you'll know that I do get duplicate copies of books. This obviously isn't great, both for my bank account and my shelves. I do not have a lot of space on my shelves, and so buying duplicates of books that I'm not sure whether I'm actually going to enjoy or not is something that I really don't want to be doing. So I thought that filming this video would be a fun little way for you guys to know which books I'm excited for the rest of the year. It'll hopefully be a way for you to discover new releases that maybe you didn't know were coming out, and also to keep me accountable so that I can reference this video back to remember whether I have pre-ordered a book or not. So that is essentially my thought process whilst coming up with this video. I know that this isn't an original concept, but I personally have never done this before, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. I do just want to say quickly as well, I have just recently checked the release dates for all of these books, but things can change and some of my information might not be completely accurate, so definitely keep that in mind. I have checked it a few days ago, as I said, and to my knowledge the dates that I'm giving to you are the dates that I know that the books are coming out. So with all that being said, let's just dive into the books. I have just scooched over so that I can pop the photos of the books up on screen for you guys, and we are going to be kicking off this video with Daughter of Darkness by Catherine and Elizabeth Kaur, and this one is coming out on the 4th of August. This is a Greek myth retelling in which we are focusing on our main character Dana. Now Dana is actually trapped. She is serving as one of the soul severers, which are essentially the people who work from Hades to shepherd the dying on from the mortal world. One day a man called Orpheus offers both fortune and freedom to whoever can retrieve his dead wife Eurydice from the underworld. So of course Dana jumps at the chance to try and do this, but she must enter into an alliance with some other soul severers that she of course doesn't trust. So this just sounds like it's going to be an amazing book. You guys know I love my Greek myths. I do have some shelves up here which show my Greek myth collection, and so I am very excited to be adding this one to it. Next up we have Egyptian Myths by Jean Menzies, which is illustrated by Katie Ponder and is also coming out on the 4th of August. I do have Jean's first book, which is Greek Myths, and this essentially encapsulates all that you need to know about the Greek myths and some Greek history as well. So I'm guessing that Egyptian Myths is going to be exactly the same, but of course focusing on ancient Egypt, which, for those of you who don't know, ancient Egypt was my first experience, I want to say, of reading some myths and legends from a country that wasn't my own. I did a project on ancient Egypt in year 4, so I would have been about 7 or 8 years old, where I just did a deep dive into ancient Egypt. I focused on the gods, I focused on the myths and legends, and ever since then I have just become absolutely obsessed. However, I found that it's quite inaccessible in a lot of ways, where there isn't a lot of information out there, in particular about ancient Egypt and the Egyptian gods. So the fact that Jean is bringing us a brand new book which encapsulates all you need to know about ancient Egypt and the different myths is just brilliant, and again it's one that I cannot wait to read. This is a little example of what the art style is like and how the book is set out, so I hope this is helpful for you guys, and I would highly recommend this book to people of all ages as well. Next up is one of the most anticipated books for the rest of this year, and that is Babel by R.F. Kuang. Now I'm probably going to make a lot of people angry here because I genuinely don't know what this book is about. All I know is that it's a kind of historical fiction, dark academia type of book, and that it's written by R.F. Kuang. So that is essentially why I have pre-ordered it. I feel like it's going to be such a popular release. There is so much anticipation for it going around at the minute. In Yalc, it was all everyone could talk about, and so I'm definitely being roped into the hype for this one, but I'm definitely not mad about it because I feel like this is a book that I am just going to love. Now I have just quickly looked this up on Goodreads, and while I won't give you the full synopsis, I am just going to give you a little snippet of the description of the book, and I am just looking down because my laptop is here. It says, Babel, a thematic response to The Secret History and a tonal response to Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, grapples with student revolutions, colonial resistance, and the use of translation as a tool of empire. It just sounds like it's going to give me so much of what I love as a reader, and I'm kind of glad that I don't really know too much about it as well, so that I can dive into it without much expectation obviously, as I mentioned, there is a lot of hype behind it, so that's always a scary thing to go into, but in terms of my personal knowledge of it, I don't have any set expectations, and I'm just going to dive into it and experience the book as it is. Next up, we have one of the books that I'm most excited for, and that is Amari and the Great Game by B.B. Alston, which is also coming out on the 1st of September. This is the sequel to Amari and the Night Brothers, which I do own and I have read. It was one of my favourite books of the year when I read it, and I honestly haven't stopped thinking about it since. It's a book that's definitely stuck with me because of how well done it was, and because of the plot as well. I really enjoyed my time reading that book. It's definitely a new favourite, and so I couldn't not pre-order the second book. I obviously can't tell you much about this book in particular because it is the second book, but in the first book we follow our main character Amari, and one day her older brother Quentin goes missing. The fact that he's missing though doesn't seem to be a big deal to the majority of the people in this town and community, and Amari doesn't quite get why. She obviously wants to find her brother and find out what happened to him, and one day she gets what she wants when she discovers a ticking briefcase hidden in her bedroom. This briefcase has a strict message on the front that reveals that it's for Amari's eyes only, and it's actually a nomination from her brother Quentin to join the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. In order to join this bureau though, she must compete in a set of trials against people who have known about the supernatural world their whole lives and have been training specifically for this moment. So of course a lot of things are thrown her way. This book also tackles with a lot of racism and racial issues, as Amari is a black girl, and it's just such an important read. I feel like that of course gives you that fantastical element of it, the set of trials. There's also an evil magician that I forgot to mention, but I don't want to spoil too much, and then at the same time it also gives you this important look at life for people in the black community, especially black children in particular, and it's just something that you don't really see in fantasy books all that often, and I think that's why I love it so much and why I love middle grade, is the fact that they tackle real life issues and somehow they manage to do it so much more effectively than young adult and adult books ever can. So if you have not read Amari and the Night Brothers yet, please go ahead and do so. I would highly recommend it, and as you can tell by my face and the way I've talked about this second book, I'm so excited for it and honestly want it in my hands right this second. Next up is a book that I only recently discovered, and that is Ithaca by Claire North. You can probably tell by the cover alone that this is another Greek myth retelling, and in this one in particular we are following Penelope, who is Odysseus's wife. For those of you who don't know, Odysseus is one of the main figures in the Trojan War. He married Penelope before he left and then went on to fight in the war and kind of get lost at sea for about 20 years before he found his way back. Penelope obviously has to struggle with essentially losing her husband, and at the start it wasn't so bad. She still had the support of all of her people. However, the longer Odysseus is away, the worse the unrest gets, and so Penelope soon finds herself confronted with finding a new suitor. A lot of people come to her wanting to be her new husband, but none of them are strong enough to claim Odysseus's throne. And then again, I'm going to consult my laptop, but it does just say here, between Penelope's many suitors, a cold war of dubious alliances and hidden knives reigns, as everyone waits for the balance of power to tip one way or another. If Penelope chooses one from amongst them, it will plunge Ithaca into bloody civil war. Only through cunning and her spy network of maids can she maintain the delicate balance of power needed for the kingdom to survive. On Ithaca, everyone watches everyone else, and there is no corner of the palace where intrigue does not reign. I just feel like this is going to be such an amazing book. I've actually studied the Odyssey. I took some online classes for it during the first lockdown. I want to say it was quite a while ago now, but I absolutely loved it, and because of that I have obviously seen Odysseus's journey and seen all the struggles that he's faced in order to get back to Penelope. So I feel like this book is going to be really interesting, and I'm so happy to have it pre-ordered. On the 13th of September we have The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, which I haven't actually pre-ordered yet, but I am hoping to get the Fairy Loot edition once it goes live. If I don't manage that, I will be pre-ordering the Waterstones edition or the standard edition, whatever I can get my hands on, so I will get it, I just haven't gotten it yet. This is another one that I'm not going to tell you too much about because I personally don't know too much about it myself. If you don't know, Stephanie Garber is the author of the Caraval series, and this is essentially a follow-on series from that set of books, and because I haven't actually finished the last book in the Caraval trilogy, I can't actually dive into this one because I just don't want to be spoiled. You can definitely read them without reading the Caraval series. I've seen a few people do that, but for me, I want to know what's going on. I want to get all the details that I can, and so I am planning on finishing out the third book, which which is legendary, I believe, before diving into Once Upon a Broken Heart, which is the first book in this next series. I really hope that made sense. I feel like I kind of waffled on through that, so hopefully you guys are with me. We have the Caraval series by her, then we have this companion follow-up series which started with Once Upon a Broken Heart, and then The Ballad of Never After is the second book. Can't say I'm too excited about this one in particular, mainly because I haven't read the first book yet or finished the Caraval series, but I do want to pre-order the book so that I have it in my collection and so that I can hopefully binge these books. I feel like I personally struggle to read a series as the books come out. There's usually about a year wait between all of them and I tend to forget what has happened, so I am the person that buys the series so that I can binge it, and then if I don't like it I can get rid of it, but if I do like it then I'm glad to have the hardcovers and special editions. So that is essentially why I've pre-ordered this one. I know it's a lot of people's most anticipated book, so I'm definitely excited to dive into this companion series. So I am just waiting for them to go on sale on the Fairy Loot website, and then if I don't manage to get it there I will of course buy it elsewhere. Next up we have a book that I've been waiting months for, and I can't believe that it's getting to the time when it's being released. The book I'm talking about is Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes, and this one comes out on the 15th of September. Literally all I know about this book is that it features Medusa and we get some of her backstory, which is all I actually need to know because I feel like Medusa is such an important figure in the Greek myths and most people don't realise what actually happened to her and how she became this Gorgon that everyone feared. So I'm hoping that this book brings more of her story to light because she was wronged by a certain god. Natalie Haynes is one of my all-time favourite authors. I've loved every single book that I've read from her so far, and I feel like this is going to be no exception. I am really anticipating this book. I feel like I'm going to read it as soon as it gets here. This one is definitely a 5-star prediction for me. I was going to order 2 different editions, but I just stuck with the one, which you guys will obviously see in a book haul when this book comes out, and who knows, I might even film a vlog of me reading this one because I do feel like I'm just gonna absolutely love it, and I feel like it's going to be quite a popular new release as well. Another book that comes out on the 15th of September is The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. This is the 3rd book in the Thursday Murder Club series by him. I'm not sure what the actual name of the series is, but it starts off with the Thursday Murder Club and then the second book is The Man Who Died Twice. Now I still haven't started this set of books unfortunately, but you guys know I'm a book collector, and as I mentioned previously I do like owning all the books that I do think I'm gonna love, and so that is essentially why I've pre-ordered this one. So in the first one we follow 4 friends who live in a retirement village, and one day a week they come together and solve hypothetical murders. And when a local man is actually found dead with a mysterious photograph next to the body, the Thursday Murder Club kind of insert themselves into the mystery to try and solve the case and see who murdered this man. And it just says here, as the bodies begin to pile up, can our unorthodox but brilliant gang catch the killer before it's too late? Now this is a series I know I'm gonna love. You guys know how much I love my Agatha Christie books and murder mysteries in general, so this is a set of books that is just gonna be right up my street, and I'm honestly appalled that I haven't read these yet. I feel like again it's the hype that's gotten to me for this one, where everyone I've seen read it has loved it, and I'm just scared that I'm gonna be that one person that doesn't love it, and that's essentially why I've been putting it off. But I desperately want to read these now, especially with the latest book coming out, and I am really hoping actually that I can read them before the end of this year. The last book that's coming out on the 15th of September that I know of and I'm excited for is Marple. Now this is a collection of short stories written by a bunch of different authors, which as you can guess all revolve around mysteries and murder mysteries. So again, consulting the laptop, the authors that are involved in this are Agatha Christie, Naomi Alderman, Leigh Bardugo, Alyssa Cole, Lucy Foley, Ellie Griffiths, Natalie Haynes, Jean Kwok, Val McDermid and Karen M. McManus. Now I have read from a few of these authors before and have absolutely loved their works, and the fact that they're all being brought together by Agatha Christie is just amazing to me. I cannot wait to dive into this one. You guys know I don't particularly love short stories, but I feel like with murder mysteries it's easier to get into them because you do get wrapped up in everything that's going on. So I'm hoping that this is one I'm gonna love. As I mentioned, some authors on there that I'm familiar with and have loved some stuff from them in the past. So all in all, it should be a good time for me, and I cannot wait to get it and read all the short stories. Next up we have The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik, which is coming out on the 20th of September. This is again an instance of me buying the 3rd book in a series when I haven't actually started this series yet, but I'm terrified of the hardcovers going out of print, and so I have been buying the books as they've been released. All it says for the first one here is, a deadly education is set at a Scholomance, a school for the magically gifted where failure means certain death, for real until one girl, Elle, begins to unlock its many secrets. That's all I'm gonna say about that one. Don't really want to know too much more. I know the first book had a lot of mixed reviews, which again I think has put me off, so I just need to distance myself from the reviews, dive into this series as a whole, and hopefully that will mean that I will love it. The next book that comes out on the 27th of September is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. Chloe Gong is the author of the These Violent Delights duology. I read the first book and absolutely loved it, but unfortunately have just never carried on with the second book. Definitely plan on doing so soon though. I have found the audiobook on Scribd, and so I will be completing this duology this year. But Foul Lady Fortune is a separate book to this series. I'm not quite sure if it's adult or young adult, so I will have to double check. But again, I'm going to consult my laptop because I don't really know what this book is about. It says, from the #1 New York Times bestselling author of These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends comes the first book in a captivating new duology following an ill-matched pair of spies posing as a married couple to investigate a series of brutal murders in 1930s Shanghai. Do I need to know any more? Absolutely not. I'm so excited for this book and I cannot wait to get to it. On the same day, Kingdom of the Feared is also being released, and that is a book written by Kerry Maniscalco. This is another series that I haven't yet started, and I've pre-ordered the third book. This is one that I think I'm gonna love, but for some reason I have just never picked up that first book, and Katie from Katie's Book Nook has been screaming at me to read this one, and I just feel like I'm letting her down, so I definitely need to get around to reading them. Again, all I need to know about the first book is a little tiny section that gives us a brief overview of what the book is about. It says, 2 sisters, 1 brutal murder, a quest for vengeance that will unleash hell itself, and an intoxicating romance. I just feel like that is such a good little snippet that instantly has you intrigued, and it definitely worked for me. I love that I'm getting to reread these little snippets of books that I may not have picked up for a while, because now it has me excited to actually start the series, and of course the pre-orders will come in handy because that means I can actually continue them. I might read this series for Halloween, we shall see. I definitely feel like those are the types of vibes that I'm getting from these books, especially as Kerry Maniscalco does write the darker murder mysteries very well. I read Stalking Jack the Ripper by her and absolutely loved it. So definitely let me know if you'd like a vlog of me reading this series around Halloween time. Another book that's also being released on the 27th of September is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Now you guys may know that Verity is a book that has already been released, however we are getting a collector's edition that looks like this, and I'm so excited for it. I don't know too many details about this special edition. All I know is that it has an extra chapter, and it's obviously a hardcover edition which is stunning, and that's all I needed to know, because if you don't know, I absolutely love this book. It's such a dark and twisted novel, but it is so gripping and intriguing that I genuinely could not put it down, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. So essentially we follow a girl called Loan, who is a struggling writer that is on the brink of financial destruction. One day though, she is offered the job of a lifetime when Jeremy Crawford, who is the husband of best-selling author Verity Crawford, asks her to complete the rest of the books in a series that Verity has already started. Loan obviously agrees, and she asks if she can go to their house to kind of sort through Verity's papers and see what she's written so far and see whether she has any plans for the upcoming books. But when she gets there, she discovers a horrifying manuscript that details events in Verity's life involving abuse and murder. And then it's all about Loan trying to figure out what to do about this whole situation, whether she tells Jeremy or not, because there might be a little romance happening as well, which could go her way if she were to reveal this manuscript to him. Don't get me wrong, this is a really disturbing book. The things that are mentioned in this are some that are really heavy, and I would not recommend it if you're not in the best mental space, because it's a lot. It does make sense at the end, but yeah, whilst you're reading it, it's just one that is so disturbing, so please do be aware of that diving in. As I mentioned, for me though, I thought it was so well done. It's one of my favourite ever thrillers, if not my favourite thriller, and I'm so happy that we are getting this collector's edition. The next book is one that I'm going to talk about briefly because there are 2 release dates for this book and I'm not quite sure which one is the right one. So the book in question is Silverborn, The Mystery of Morrigan Crow. This is the 4th book in the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend, and it's either coming out on the 10th of October this year, which is 2022, or the 12th of October 2023. Now, my Amazon order says that this book is coming out this year on the 10th, however Waterstones has it listed as the 12th of 2023, so I'm really confused about this one. Thought I would mention it just in case it's out this year, but something is telling me me that it is going to be 2023. In the first book though, we follow Morrigan Crow, who is a cursed child that is destined to die on her 11th birthday. However, on the eve of her 11th birthday, a man called Jupiter North sweeps her away to a magical land called Nevermore and offers her a chance to join the Wondrous Society. In order to do this though, she must compete in some trials, which are definitely not for the faint of heart. And not only that, something evil is trying to come after her. This is such an amazing series. I love it so much. It's another middle grade one, but it definitely reads older, and I think the believability of it is what sold it for me, because I feel like this is something that could actually be happening in our world right now, and I just absolutely love it for that. So I did want to mention this book just in case it came out this year, but I don't think it will, but I wanted to mention it just in case. Another book that's coming out on the 10th of October is Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan, which is the sequel to The Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I read The Daughter of the Moon Goddess earlier this year. I really did enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars just because I feel like some elements of it weren't the best, but I liked it enough to want to pre-order the next book. This is another one where I haven't actually pre-ordered the book itself yet because I do want to try and grab the Fairy Loot edition, but if I don't, I will just grab the Waterstones or standard edition and read it that way. Again, I'm going to consult my laptop for this one because it sums it up a whole lot better than I ever could. It says, Daughter of the Moon Goddess begins an enchantic, romantic duology which weaves ancient Chinese mythology into a sweeping adventure of immortals and magic, where love vies with honour, dreams are fraught with betrayal, and hope emerges triumphant. I don't quite know how this book is going to go because I feel like the first book could have been a standalone, but I am really excited for it nonetheless. I love Su Lin Tan's writing style, and so again, very happy to be getting this one, and this is one I feel like I will get to really soon. Then on the 11th of October we have Princess of Souls by Alexandra Christo, which I tried to win an ARC of at Yelk but wasn't successful, unfortunately. Alexandra Christo is the author of To Kill a Kingdom, which is a kind of Little Mermaid retelling. I've met Alexandra, she is one of the nicest people ever, and I've been so excited about this book. Again, I'm just going to read you the snippet for this one. So it says, from the author of To Kill a Kingdom comes Princess of Souls, a Rapunzel-inspired YA fantasy romance about a teen witch groomed to steal souls for an immortal king and the reckless rebellious boy to whom her fate is tied. Again, do I need to say anything else? I don't think so. Rapunzel is such a well-known tale and it's one that I deeply love. So I'm highly anticipating this one. I can't wait to see what Alexandra Christo actually does with it, and I'm actually gutted that I have to wait another 2-3 months for it to come out. Next up is The River of Silver by S.A. Chakraborty, which comes out on the 13th of October. This is a novella, I want to say, for the Daevabad series by this author. I have read the first book, City of Brass, but I never carried on with the rest of the books. Again, I don't know why, but I am just awful at continuing on series. But this is a Middle Eastern fantasy which involves jinn, magic, curses. I definitely need to reread the first book and actually carry on with the series. I can't quite remember what happens in it off the top of my head, but I saw that this novella was being released and of course I needed to add it to my collection. So that is essentially why I bought this one. I'm not sure when I'll get around to reading all these books, but hopefully it won't be too long so that I can see whether I do actually enjoy this series and whether or not to keep it on my shelves. Then moving into November, we have Cursed by Marissa Meyer, and this one's out on the 8th. This is the second book in a series. The first book is Gilded, which is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. Again, I don't really know why I haven't read this book yet. I absolutely love anything to do with the fairy tales, as I've mentioned with the Rapunzel story, and so this should definitely be right up my street, but I just have not picked it up. Now please do remember that I have been in a massive reading slump this year, and so I have barely read anything, and I'm actually scared to pick up books in case my slump will affect the way that I enjoy it. So I think that's why I've been putting it off, but I desperately need to get to these. I think I'm going to put it on one of my next TBRs for sure, because again, it's a story that I should love. Spinning Silver was another Rumpelstiltskin retelling by Naomi Novik, and I was obsessed with it. I really did love it. So I'm really angry at myself for putting this off, but now that the second book is coming out, I feel like this will give me the kick I need to actually start the series. Then on the 10th of November, we have The Fall of Numenor by J.R.R. Tolkien. Do I even have to tell you guys how much I love Tolkien anymore? Probably not, but essentially I'm a collector of Tolkien's books, absolutely love every single thing that he's written, and The Fall of Numenor is the latest release that I need to buy in order to add it to my Tolkien collection. Now this has such a long synopsis, so again I'm just going to read you the first line, which says, J.R.R. Tolkien's writings on the Second Age of Middle-earth collected for the first time in one volume. So this is obviously a collection of stories put together by Brian Sibley, and it does also have illustrations by Alan Lee, who is one of my favourite concept artists for Tolkien's world. world, so it's one that I had to pre-order. I really don't know when I'll get to it. If you guys know anything about Tolkien's books, they are chunky, and because this is a set of short stories and different essays, I feel like it's going to be a lot to get my head around, so not quite sure when I will actually get around to this book, but I'm very happy to have pre-ordered it so that I can add it to my Tolkien shelves. And the last book I'm going to talk about today is The Poison Season by Mara Rutherford, which comes out on the 8th of December. For this one I will just read you the synopsis because I genuinely can't remember what it's about. So it says, Lilo has spent her entire life on Endla, coexisting with a bloodthirsty forest and respecting the poisonous lake that protects her island from outsiders who seek to destroy it. But as much as Lilo cares for her community, she struggles to accept that her younger brother will be exiled by his next birthday, unless he gains the magic of enchanted song so vital to Endla. When Lilo sees a young outsider on the verge of drowning in the lake, she knows exactly what she's supposed to do. But in a moment that will change everything, Lilo betrays her family, her best friend, and Endla by making an unthinkable choice. Discovery could lead to devastating consequences for both Lilo and the outsider Jaren. But as they grow closer, Lilo realizes that not all danger comes from beyond the lake, and that they can only survive if Lilo is willing to question the very fabric of her society, her people, and herself. I really love reading about anything to do with nature and curses, so bringing the two together is just a fantastic mix for me, and I am really hoping that I'm going to absolutely love this one, especially because I want to keep the beautiful cover on my shelves. And that is it for me today, guys. I feel like I've been chatting for so long, so if you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say a massive thank you. If you have made it this far and would like to let me know that you are still here, please go ahead and leave me some book emojis down in the comments. I've talked about a lot of books today, you guys, and I feel like that is definitely a fitting emoji, so if you'd like to let me know that you're still here but don't have anything in particular that you'd like to say, please go ahead and leave that down in the comments now. Whilst you're down in the comments, please do let me know what your most anticipated books of the rest of 2022 are. I would love to know. As well as that, please don't forget to click the like button if you like this video and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. It truly does mean the world to me, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!